Hey guys, welcome to Flight Test. My name is Alex and this is Austin.
Hey guys.
And today, finally, we have the DJI Mavic. We actually got a pre-production model. We've been testing this thing out for about a week and a half.
We did a first impression video of it, but we like to spend some time with stuff before we do a review on it. And a week and a half is a little short for us, but we wanted to get the information out there since it's just about to be released.
Yeah, and if you're new to the channel, if you couldn't tell by the name, we specialize in things that fly. So we've been flying quads since the early days when you had to build them out of individual gyros and stuff like that, all the way through all of the DJI series. We've done all the Phantoms, we've done the Inspire, Phantom 4, and now we have the Mavic.
So the difference in this video and some of the first impression videos that we've done in the blog and whatnot is that we're actually going to try to assign a number to this, and we're actually going to try to give our actual thoughts on what this is. DJI did send this to us, but this isn't a paid promotion. This is our actual thoughts on the product.
So we've broken this down into a couple different categories that we felt were necessary to assess a proper aerial platform. First of which is performance.
When we're talking about performance, we're talking about the actual physical performance in the machine. So this would be like battery flight time, which they're saying about 27 minutes. I think we've been getting pretty consistently 20 to 25, depending on how we fly it. So I'd say that stat's pretty true. Yeah. And also that's pretty common for just about any drone that's out there right now.
But all that being said, let's just rewind to a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. 15-minute flight times were pretty difficult to achieve.
Yeah,
the fact that we're getting nearly 30 minutes on a battery these days is incredible. It's the best that it's ever been. And this is just a little 3-cell, I believe it's like a 3900 milliamp 3-cell battery. And the size of it is just remarkable for how big it is.
They do sell additional batteries. They're $89 a piece. And they are intelligent batteries. Yes. So they do all the balancing themselves, and they let you know when they're low. They actually brings the machine in automatically when it gets too low. So this is honestly a pretty good value. When you buy just a regular LiPo for whatever it is, 30 bucks, 89 seems like a lot, but it's really, it does a good job.
Yeah, and the best thing about the intelligent batteries, in my opinion too, is the safety measures that they have. You always want to be cautious when you're using a LiPo battery. Even in your cell phone, they can be dangerous if they're misused. But you don't have to worry about this quite as much as you do a normal hobby battery, where if you set up the charger wrong or do something like that, it could blow up and burn down the whole building. I would say performance-wise, I'd give it a 10 out of 10. Yep. I mean, it is the longest flying, fastest, most stable flying quad that I think DJI has ever made.
So the next category that we wanted to weigh on was portability. And I think it's a clear 10 out of 10 on portability.
Yeah, that's pretty much a given. The way that the thing folds up and the small size, the form factor, even when the quad is fully extended, it's still more portable than most quads on the market that have the same capabilities as far as video quality and stuff like that. So
I think that portability is going to be an interesting new category you're going to see on a lot of reviews in the next couple of years on drones. I think that's going to be a pretty critical factor, because you could wrap some socks around this and throw it in your suitcase, no problem.
Yes. You can keep this almost in your pocket. It's more of a fanny pack size, but you throw it in your fanny pack, you always have it with you.
You have a fanny pack?
Compared to a giant backpack, which the Phantom requires, a lot more setup and teardown time, this thing is just ready to go. I would agree, 10 out of 10 on portability.
I think portability relates to all the other features, because you would think with this much portability, you would sacrifice on features.
That's a really good point.
So I think that it'll be interesting to look at the rest of the features here and see how they stack up.
Yes.
The next one is camera. So camera, I'm hesitant to rate, but let's talk about it a little bit. Supposedly, it uses the exact same sensor as the Phantom 4, which is good news.
Yes.
It uses a different lens with a narrower field of view.
Yes.
And so as you're flying it, you're seeing less of the landscape. You're more focused in, which in some cases is bad, in some cases is okay.
Yeah.
And to most people won't notice.
It's going to give it two different looks. You can achieve different things with each. The Phantom has a wider field of view, this has a narrow field of view. You can't really say which one is better, because they're both good for different types of things. They also have some crossover too, where they're both good at some of the similar things. But one of the other big differences I've known is just the form factor of the camera. The camera on the Mavic is super tiny.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons I was super hesitant, is because when I first saw it, I mean, it's borderline like cell phone camera size.
Yeah.
It also doubles as the brushless gimbal motor for the roll axis, which is pretty crazy.
Anything else that's in this size category is, or just about anything else, is using digital stabilization. So typically they're shooting a 4K image and cropping in, but this is using physical stabilization, you know, with a 3-axis gimbal, which in this form factor is really impressive.
Yeah, and I have seen a lot of great things developed with digital stabilization, especially in the past year, but I have not seen any digital stabilization stabilization that comes close to traditional physical stabilization, meaning that there's mechanical brushless motors keeping that camera steady while the quad is moving around. You just can't beat it. You can't beat a physically stable image.
So the last factor with the camera is the tap to focus. There's been a lot of discussion about that.
Yes, something we forgot when we did our first impression, but that was why it was called a first impression.
There was a lot of reviewers that actually have forgotten it, but actually with the tap to focus, there's two different variants there. So within 25 meters, you are going to want to tap the screen or assign it to one of the C1 or C2 buttons, so you can just automatically click it. And as what that does is that brings, there's a little bit of a factor of depth of field to whatever you're looking at, and that's within 25 meters. If you click anything outside of 25 meters, it goes to what we're used to with the Phantom 4, which is the infinite focus, which is where everything's in focus.
And this is a really cool feature because it gives you a little bit more flexibility. You're capable of doing a little bit more with your camera, which is something that you previously weren't able to do with the Phantom and even the Inspire.
So it's a really cool added feature. You just have to use it in order to get good shots.
And yeah, it doesn't come set up. You have to set that up. You can customize these buttons on the back to make them do what you want, which is pretty cool.
Last factor with the camera, not to spend too much time on the camera, but to be fair, on an aerial photography platform, camera is pretty important.
Camera is like the most important, yeah.
Is the processing. And so I think that overall it does a pretty good job with processing. I've seen people just throw it into Final Cut default settings and just do a little bit of sharpening and a little bit of color correction, and it makes it look fantastic. But I have to say, even without doing that, it looks phenomenal.
Yeah.
For the size of this camera in this form factor, like, I really can't say enough about it.
Yeah.
And especially once you get the tap to focus features figured out.
And all this being said is keeping in mind that this is a very small aerial platform.
Yeah.
Obviously you can't compare this to like Altas. It's not being compared to mini race quads. Those are completely different categories. We're comparing this to other things in the same class.
What do you say, camera 9 out of 10?
Camera, I'd say 9 out of 10, yeah. I mean, and again, I can't stress enough, this isn't a paid advertisement. We have a relationship with DJI. They did send us this for free, but this is not a paid video. I think that they just have that much trust in their products. And that's one of the things I noticed is that we got one. There were a lot of other YouTube channels that not only either got one or had a first, hands-on before it has been released. And I think that's a testament to how far they've come with their product development and how much they trust their designs.
And all of the ratings that we've given so far is pretty much in comparison to what we consider the gold standard so far for portable aerial cinematography, and that's been the Phantom 4.
Yes.
And also that, again, since we consider that the gold standard, you can also consider that in comparison to any others in that category.
One of the other cool things with the camera is that it's so stable that you can do up to 8-second exposures, which is pretty cool. I don't know how they're pulling that off if there's some software involved.
With a gimbal that's that small, that's really impressive. They can hold it that stable.
Well, on a flying object, like typically that's like, you got to be steady even with a tripod to be able to do that. 8 seconds is a long time, but that's a pretty cool feature that I've never seen in any other drones.
So next is the smart features. Yeah. There's a lot of features in here that we remember from the Phantom 4.
Yes.
So stuff like tap to fly was included. All the computer vision aspects of the Phantom 4, which honestly in this form factor is something I expected them to cut, because that's a ton of onboard processing.
Yes.
There's like something like 24 processing units on board of this, but it operates the exact same, and they even added some new stuff.
Yeah, the price point and the size of this thing, I was expecting DJI to cut some corners and it would be lacking, especially compared to the Phantom 4. I would have thought that they would want to sell more Phantom 4s in the future, but apparently not, because I couldn't see why you'd buy a Phantom 4 in comparison to this thing.
I agree.
So yeah, the smart features, they work really, really well. You have tap to fly, where you can pick a point either above or below the horizon and tap, and the drone will just go in that direction.
So the other ones are trace, spotlight, and profile. And so spotlight is basically, that's when it keeps you in the frame no matter what. So the drone does whatever it has to do to keep you in frame. The profile is basically, it follows alongside your profile. So it's kind of like a cable cam that runs alongside of you. And what's the other one? Trace, that either flies in front of you or behind you, and it locks in that position.
That's pretty cool.
So useful, but if you're a decent enough pilot, you don't use those features a ton.
Well, I think those are more if you're using it on a personal level. So if you're not going to shoot other subjects, you're at the park with your family and you're going on a walk, and you want to just go on a walk with your family, and you don't even need to hold the controller, and you don't need to worry about it. And that really is how well they work. We put it to the test. We tested all of the different features, and they all seem to perform really well. And I think that's because this isn't new to the Mavic. This is something that DJI has been developing for quite a while now, that they just happen to feature on the Mavic.
The other new feature is gesture control, which again, depending on what you're using it for, you may or may not use.
Yes.
Basically, you wave your arms up in the air to get its attention, you do a Y to get it to follow you, and then you hold your picture frame in order to get it to take a selfie of you.
Yeah.
It does work really well.
Yep.
With the camera button on the controller, I'm not sure how much you would use that, but again, it's case-by-case basis.
Yep.
There's also something new to the Mavic that's called tripod mode. It's designed specifically for using indoors. So just imagine you want, a camera on a tripod maybe 10, 15 feet up in the air. Mavic's a great way to do that. You don't actually have to lug around a tripod with you.
Yes.
And it's super stable indoors.
Super stable, yeah, and it has the downward vision positioning system, and it works the best I've seen because the Inspire originally had it, and then the Phantom 3, the Phantom 4. This one works the best out of all three of them, in my opinion. So the other thing with tripod mode, which is a really cool feature in my opinion, is it dubs all of the speed down to 2.2 miles per hour, which is really, really slow, obviously. It's great for training, but the reason I like it is because it's great for really slow pans. You could almost do like a very slow slider time-lapse shot and speed it up so it looks like it's actually sliding pretty fast, but everything's in super fast motion. It gives you more flexibility to get more dynamic shots, which I think is a really cool feature.
So smart features rating. It has more smart features than any other drone on the market. Even the Phantom 4 has even more features. So it has to be a 10 out of 10, right?
And they actually work really well. So I mean, yeah, I hate to just like
I want to grade it bad on something.
Yeah. We could have just made the title 10 out of 10, but then you guys wouldn't have watched it.
That's true.
But yeah, I think the smart features, they definitely are not for everybody, but for the person who's using it more on a personal basis rather than like a commercial use, I think you will get a lot of use out of these smart features, and they perform, they work really well. One of my personal favorite features of this thing is the controller. Look at this thing. I mean, it's incredibly small without sacrificing anything. It still feels really good. When you unfold it and you put the phone in there, it still feels like a full transmitter, and it works really, really well, and it also performs.
So previous models for transmitters for DJI has used technology called LightBridge, and before that using just a simple Wi-Fi connection. This is using a new connection that's called OcuSync. And this allows you to fly up to 4.3 miles, they say, away, and still maintain a 720p connection, which is really impressive.
That's crazy. We wouldn't recommend doing that, but it is capable of it.
And while you're close round, which is what most people are going to do, it actually has a full 1080p downlink. And so I think it's 160 millisecond latency, which is fairly low. That's definitely not like
for HD.
For HD, it's extremely low. And so I haven't had any issues with that. One of my complaints about LightBridge was occasionally it does glitch out. When you're flying, just for a half second or for a second, you'll lose it and it kind of falls down the screen.
Goes pixely.
It goes a little pixely.
Screen, yeah.
I have not had a single issue with this. Granted, I haven't tested it at 4.3 miles, but I have flown decently far away from myself, at least a half mile here in this area with no breakup and no glitching whatsoever. So I think that people that are used to LightBridge are going to love this new technology.
Controller, I'd go again another 9 out of 10.
Yeah.
I think there is some small room for improvement, like the actual quality of the gimbals. They do feel really good, but I noticed they are made out of plastic and stuff like that. But overall, for the type of flying that you're going to be doing with something like a Mavic, it's more than enough, and I'd say 9 out of 10.
The reason I would give it a 9 out of 10 is I know so many people want a real HDMI out. Even an HDMI mini would be nice, and there's a port on the bottom here. It looks like a USB port. I don't know if that could be, an adapter could be made for that or not, but a lot of people want to use their own goggles.
Yes.
DJI is coming out with their own set of goggles, which I assume would plug into this.
I'd hope so.
But yeah, an HDMI out. Do that on the next one.
Yep.
So something that the Phantom, we were familiar with the Phantom, is you were able to live stream to Facebook. Same thing with this, you can live stream to Facebook, and I've actually been seeing some friends do that.
Yep.
So something they've added is YouTube streaming, and also Periscope streaming.
Nice.
So now you can stream on any of the top 3 streaming platforms, which I assume we're going to be trying that a little bit today.
Yeah. And if you guys haven't yet, check us out on Facebook and Periscope. We do live streaming often, not only from the Mavic, but also behind the scenes stuff. Make sure you check it out.
So I think we've averaged 9.8 out of 10 on everything.
Overall, it's a really good buy. I know at least 4 out of the 5 guys at the shop are considering buying one personally, not for flight test, but for it to take home and to have as their own. Like I said, we've been dealing with this technology since it began about 7-8 years ago when people were scratch building these things in their garages, and to see how far it's come as of the date today, which is October 5th, 2016, this is the one to buy in my opinion.
All right, guys, I want to thank you guys for watching. If you liked this video, please like it. Please leave us a comment on what you thought, and please consider subscribing.